you already, yeah, that time of year is back. PPL live, it's time to crown another champ. 2023 to 24, it's going down. Lots of competition, only one can wear the crown. Hope that you already, yeah, the time of year is back. PPL live, it's time to crown another champ. 2023 to 24, it's going down. Lots of competition, only one can wear the crown. Squad underestimated, finally won his first shit. They put the work and made some trades, yeah, that was good shit. But don't get comfortable, the league is filled with champions. Don't sleep on your opponent, better stay away from ambience. We back again, another year of PPL. Back to talk smack again, we treat it like the NFL. Time to stack your rosters up and build your best to never fail. By week 6 we take advantage, if you're weak cause we can tell. You better bring your A game, be solid like an A-frame. A new year but the same thing, you better be ready to bang bang. It's showtime, PPL live is ready to go. GENO the Jet will let you know we won't be easy, that's for sure. When the pass smacking bones crack, yeah, you gotta love that. Glad it's back, PPL, let's run it back. Live shows, speak the facts, analyze and talk the trash. Play the game to win the cash, never try to end the blast. Hope that you already, yeah, that time of year is back. PPL live, it's time to crown another champ. 2023 to 24, it's going down. Lots of competition, only one can wear the crown. Hope that you already, yeah, that time of year is back. PPL live, it's time to crown another champ. 2023 to 24, it's going down. Lots of competition, only one can wear the crown.
PL Live Week 2 2023 season is upon us. It was a great opening day. Statements made, statements missed. We're here to give you all the action of PPL Live Week 2. GENO the Gent here with my man Ulysses S. Hate. We here, we ready to give it to you. But before we jump into week 2, you know we got to go into our past week's matchups, starting with our week 1 scores. Starting with the Argonauts, leaving no doubt a resounding victory to open the season. A 100+ point win, 166 to 58. Patty's Twins gets it done. No JT, no problem. 123 to 107. The Skulls get off to the start that they need, get the win, not in an impressive fashion, but a 1-0 is a 1-0. 87 to appease the gods. Putrid 69. Squad underestimated. Shows what they're all about. Tyreek Hill with the big play. Christian McCaffrey with the big play. Champs roll over only for the boss. 145 to 105. And the GAFF attack gets in the winners column early in the season. Knocks off the United Players, the Destroyers. 118 to 105. A lot of surprises, a lot of actions, and I've been waiting to hear from you, brother. I want to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly. GENO the Gent gonna give you his, but you know, Ulysses, I gotta hear yours first, bro. What's your good, bad, and ugly?
Yeah, man. I gotta give it to one of the standard bearers in the PPL. The Patty's Twins did it for me in week 1.
Okay.
I mean, this one ran deep. I mean, didn't blow anybody away on the stat sheet, but
right.
Look, man, this team is playing without one of their keepers. Like, let's not forget that Jonathan, JT's not involved yet.
Right.
And really just looking at how she performed top to bottom, I think that the team did good. I mean, she had a few duds. I mean, we all did. T. Higgins,
right.
Was just a part of that terrible game that the Bengals put out there.
Right.
But you look everywhere else, I mean, she got production where she needed to. And again, look at the bottom flex, D, kicker, head coach. She got big returns on all those players.
Yeah.
And really, when you look at her bench, there really wasn't a miss here. I mean, yeah, she could have got Addison in, but really, I think that they played well. They're looking pretty damn prophetic in not keeping Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
R.I.P. Aaron.
Wow. Rest in peace.
But the Twins went out here. They handled a game that really could have went either way. This was a statement game again. Really decided a playoff spot last year.
Yeah.
And for me, it puts the Twins in a position when I look across the Omega Conference, this team just, I mean, looked like the team to beat after week 1. So, I mean, hats off. It was a good week for the Twins.
Okay. What's your bad, bro?
Man, my bad. This one's hard. You know, I picked them to leave no doubt last year, and I still pick them to win the Pantheon Cup this year,
Okay.
only for the boss.
Yeah,
Anytime
tough
you
week.
get that scratch, losing a Travis Kelce, I mean, this guy's, you know, that level of a guy, and I think we all saw why on Thursday night.
Right.
In any clutch situation, you could see Mahomes just looking for that playmaker, and unfortunately, Kadarius Toney did some boss-on-boss violence.
Right.
That ultimately, I think, really set the tone for this matchup. I wasn't surprised that they lost, but I really didn't feel like they were at any point to get back in it.
Right.
They just really didn't. I mean, you know, saw a bright spot with Chubb and Diggs, but we expected that. I mean, everyone else was just kind of and so to me, that was just a bad week. I don't expect this to be really indicative of the season at all. But again, it's going to sting. But I expect the boss to bounce back in a big way, especially if Kelce gets back in the lineup next week.
Yeah.
So boss just needs to dust themselves off.
Okay, who's ugly, man?
Ugly's easy. It's a piece of the gods.
Oh.
Nah, man. This guy went out for the number one pick in the draft, and you know, got nothing wrong to say with that pick.
Right.
I mean, it's about the other cats that he roll with, though. Lamar, I mean, let's be honest. Lamar's losing a step.
Wow.
This was a game that he really could have used his legs. You know, Gino, we were talking Houston, known as a top pass defense.
Right.
They showed why. And again, Lamar just couldn't beat him with his legs. I mean, they ended up running the wheels off of J.K. Dobbins to get this win. And so it's going to be very costly, not just for appease the gods in this game, but, I mean, is this a repeat of the last few seasons where Baltimore just hasn't had a run game outside of Jackson? David Montgomery looked good. Bijan Robinson looked good. Devonta, Raheem. Everybody else, I mean, it was highly questionable. DJ Moore, that Chicago team's looking like they got a lot to be desired.
Right.
This team was also not having one of its top stars in Mark Andrews. Went with likely, didn't produce.
Yeah.
The Vikings made Baker Mayfield look highly competent.
Right.
I mean, Brian Flores, come on, man. And then the Bengals. I mean, I'm still kind of looking at that game and wondering, you know, is Cleveland a good team, or is Cincinnati just lost something here? This is a highly emotional game, and again, they just did not look prepared to play. So, you know, ATG really didn't have anywhere to go, but I mean, this was an ugly matchup, and so, you know, the Skulls really had a chance to run away with it. Appease the God should have just been blown out here. I mean, this was over pretty much after Sunday morning, so Appease the Gods has got to figure something out, and I'm not sure that Lamar Miller is going to be the guy. So they've got a lot of question marks that I'm asking myself beyond this week. So that's why I've got ATG looking pretty ugly right now.
No, agreed. And especially when you look at the fact that, I mean, a negative 13 from your coach just stops your momentum in its tracks. ATG had no chance after that morning run, no matter what happened. Guys could have stepped up and did a little bit more, and it probably still wouldn't have been enough. My good man is going to be the GAFF. I was impressed. They came out there and got the win without Jalen Hurts having a big week, without A.J. Brown having a big week. They were able to get it done. Great ancillary plays with the Jets D and the Cowboys coach. C.D. Lamb had a solid day. But they were able to really get it done. This was a real good team win in the Omega Conference for them. And you need weeks where you don't play your best. You only get about 118. Hey, they hit close to their projection. They got the dub, and that enables them to continue to stack wins to get back into the playoff hunt, which they've missed the last couple of years. Big win for the GAF, because this is a game that they lose last year. But Hawkinson was in there. He was able to make a few plays. A.J. Brown did make a couple of plays, but it was nothing spectacular from anybody. So they have a lot to build off of. And if they continue to make the right ancillary plays, that'll keep them afloat until their guys really hit their groove. They got a lot of big-time talent, so you know they will hit their groove. So it's always good to get a win in a week you don't play your best. And despite them not playing their best, I was impressed with them having the resourcefulness to get a dub in week one. My bad man is only for the boss, man. I'm with you. I was just disappointed in how that whole thing went down. Without Travis Kelce out there, the Chiefs looked dead in the water at certain points because other guys couldn't hang on to the football. And that just reverberated through Only for the Boss's whole franchise, because obviously that affected the coach. That gave Mahomes interceptions. And obviously because Kelce didn't play, he gave them a donut. And Freiermuth 6.8, while yeah, he did catch a touchdown, that left a lot to be desired. Another reason why things were bad for Only for the Boss is because their big prize first round pick, Cam Akers, was playing second fiddle in that Rams backfield when things got tight in that red zone. Kyron Williams vultured him for 2 touchdowns. And if that's what Only for the Boss got in the first round, then that draft is also looking bad for them. Things not looking so good for the Alpha Conference champions at the moment. I thought GENO Smith left a lot to be desired on the backup end. And then Kadarius Toney, obviously, who is on his bench. We saw the performance he put out. Not much to trust on that bench right now. And things could get bad for Only for the Boss. This loss could be indicative of further things to come. But at the moment, they're just bad, man. And my ugly is a team that I thought we both thought actually had their act together, and that's the Baby Gas team, man. They came out, they made a few trades. I thought that the trade that they made for Mike Evans and Joe Mixon was pretty good. Those guys weren't necessarily the problem yesterday. Joe Burrow really let down the BGT, and then obviously the upset of the weekend coming through with the Rams beating the Seahawks really affected their score output. But it's still the same old thing from the BGT. That's why it's ugly. Not to mention the fact that they lost J.K. Dobbins for another season. This is a guy that they've invested a lot of capital in, a lot of time and energy in. And for him to go on the IR in the middle of week 1 after already having a season-ending injury the year before last, really sucks for the BG2, who have kept him year after year after year. Their loyalty, unfortunately, was not rewarded. Instead, it was punished. And now it goes from an ugly week 1 loss to an ugly injury that the BGT is going to have to find a way to cover up if they're able to get anything going to keep the season going. But that being said, as I always like to say, what's past is prologue, but we're going to stay with the Baby Gas team as we start in the Alpha Conference for a big game for both teams involved. We have the Baby Gas team taking on the Pantheon Cup champion Squad Underestimated. All right, Ulysses, so I basically broke it down. The Baby Gas team had an ugly week 1, couldn't get out of their own way. Joe Burrow was horrendous. They would have been better off going with Deshaun Watson in week 1. They really got a tough matchup here with the defending champ. Squad Underestimated not playing. Obviously, we saw their week 1 output. Could have been even better if they didn't get out of their own way. What do you think of this one, man? We got a big one.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit on it. I mean, it was an ugly week, definitely, for the BGT. And I mean, two points you didn't mention that I think also, are indicative of the ugly that will factor into this matchup is J.K. Dobbins going to the IR. He's done.
Right.
And Deontay Johnson's actually going to be missing for a few weeks too. So he's down a few guys just after week 1. So
right.
I mean, not only did he take the loss, but he took a beating. And again, I think it factors in this matchup. I think we still have a lot of question marks about Joe Burrow. I mean, I think that maybe it's a one-off, but I think playing a Baltimore defense that's known for being stingy.
Yeah.
I think that Squad's got 2 viable options, but fundamentally, I think he should go with Kirk Cousins. I mean, there's too many questions in Chicago right now, and again, Kirk's playing Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Philadelphia made Mac Jones look highly fucking competent. So
yeah.
I think Kirk's probably the better option here, but he should be fine either way. Big story with Squad though is it's only week 1,
right?
But he has the number 1 wideout and number 1 running back, Christian McCaffrey, 65-yard.
Yeah.
Bust off.
Nice.
Tyreek Hill is indefensible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the reality, and Tua is going to feed him all season. He did the right thing and got Ayuk in the lineup this week, so that's good.
Yeah.
And so I just look at this lineup top to bottom, and again, you mentioned it. This new look BGT, I expect them to do better, but I mean, again, I've got a lot of question marks, especially with the Dobbins injury, about where he's going to get some of this production.
Yeah.
And I think of the two quarterbacks, I'd probably go to Deshaun Watson too. He looked like he had a little bit more going for him.
Yeah.
I would also think that there's got to be better defensive options than the Steelers
Pittsburgh,
at this point. And I don't think I would go Seahawks at Detroit. I think that there has to be better options out there. So BGT has a lot of lineup work before I think he can get anywhere near this. So I'm gonna go ahead and say this is my lock of the week. I think Swan gets 2-0.
Okay.
2-0 in the division and sets up a week 3 matchup with the Argonauts that I know at least I'm highly anticipating. So
Okay.
I've got Squad in my lock of the week. I've got them coming back a little bit to earth, and I've got them going 125 to the BGT's 106.
Okay. I'm inclined to agree with you, man. We both slept on Squad Underestimated last week. They went on ahead and got that dub over Only for the Boss. Much respect to them. They really, proved their point. Put an exclamation point on that championship season. So, good on the Squad Underestimated. But now we're moving on to week 2. Now, is it possible that the Baby Gas team has some, delayed aggression syndrome and just explodes in week 2? It's possible. I mean, Mike Evans and Joe Mixon both are highly capable. Josh Jacobs is due for a big game, and Joe Burrow might just snap out of that cocoon in the home opener for the Cincinnati Bengals against a Baltimore team that he's known to light up. I like Evan Ingram's matchup against Kansas City. I think that game's going to have some scoring in it. The Chiefs are on the road, and the Jacksonville Jaguars actually did have success moving the ball against them. So I don't think it's going to be anything that they aren't used to, or it's not going to be too big a moment for them. I'm interested to see how Jerry Jeudy fits into the lineup. I see that the BGT's got them in there. And he's a guy that can really make plays for them, and he may be the missing piece that Sean Payton and Russell Wilson need. Now, on Squad Underestimated side, I think that Justin Fields, he's due for a bounce back. I think that the lights were a little bright on opening day. I think that the America's Game of the Week probably got into his head a little bit. I think he fades into the background a little bit with this game in Tampa Bay, and they bring Baker Mayfield and company to town. I think Chicago can actually get a win there, and Justin might have a big game with his arm and his legs, and they may also have a delayed coming out party, but I think Chicago still has a lot of potential there. Saquon Barkley's a guy that I think this is the game that the Giants as a whole get right. That game in Dallas is just a game that they can mark off. They can just say their season begins in Arizona and go from there. Christian McCaffrey obviously should be in a good matchup, but the Rams actually look pretty competent. I expect Belichick to put some kind of double team on Tyreek Hill. I don't know what the Chargers were doing on defense. Brandon Ayuk obviously gets into a lineup, but when you get those guys in, typically you're a week late on an explosion like that. But we'll see. I think Brandon is capable of having more big games. In the end, Squad Underestimated has way too much firepower, and they're way too competent in this matchup. There's some strategic things that the BGT would have to adjust for me to take this seriously, including that D and head coach. At the end of the day, I got Squad Underestimated as well getting this victory. I'm going to go Squad Underestimated 130, BGT 116. And moving on to our next matchup, we go into a crucial matchup in the Omega Conference for both teams. Both teams got off to a rocky start at 0-1, and both teams need to get back on track and need this victory very crucially. We got Appease the Gods taking on the United Players, the Destroyers. All right, man, ATG was obviously your ugly of week 1. You were highly unimpressed with the effort that they put out, even after trading for the first pick in the draft. For the United Players, the Destroyers, they actually put up a better effort than some of us predicted, but they still ended up going down at the end of Monday night. But Tua Tagovailoa gives them a lot to be happy about, but the declining touches of Derrick Henry and Mike Williams being in a more run-dominated offense might spell doom for this United Players team, man. What do you think of this matchup? Something's got to come to a head for these two teams. Somebody's got to get in the winner's column. The United Players taking on Appease the Gods.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is going to be an entertaining matchup to watch, and I think it is going to be a close matchup. I think when I look at the UP, I mean, you mentioned it, they live and die with Tua, and I think one thing that is slightly concerning about the matchup this week is they are playing New England.
Yeah, on the road.
You know, this is a divisional game. I think that, you know, this could go either way. They could absolutely blow up, or it could be really tight. And, you know, the team I saw last week against Philly, and, you know, if I'm looking at Philly and I'm looking at Miami and I'm looking at playing styles,
right,
I think that suits New England coming into this game. I mean, they might be better prepared for it. I'm not saying they're going to win, but they might be able to contain it a little bit better.
Right.
And you mentioned it. I mean, we're already hearing from, you know, questions in Tennessee about Henry's percentage of the workload.
Yeah.
Isaiah Pacheco looks like he is, you know, that feature back in Kansas City. The problem is how much they throw it. I mean, I just don't know if he's ever going to be that guy that's going to really demand it. I look elsewhere though, and it's like, you know, DeAndre Hopkins should get a lion's share of the looks. I mean, he's the top look wide receiver out there. Saw good looks last week. That Chargers Tennessee matchup, he's got both sides of this here. But again, Dalton Schultz doesn't really get me excited. A lot of questions about Pittsburgh. We hit on ATG with the ugly, but when I look at this, I like the potential of ATG to have a bounce back more than I expect the UP to string it together at this point. I think, you know, Lamar's got to get it together. I think that we'll see a better effort, and I mean, hell, we're going to see what Cincinnati's about. Both of these teams have a lot to prove.
Yeah,
I like David Montgomery's role in Detroit. I mean, this guy's looking like he's gonna really hold that primary carry back, and Gibbs is gonna come in. But Gibbs has got so much potential, and I think he's gonna ultimately really start eating into that. But definitely not for a few weeks. Bijan again looking like a split scenario, but I mean the guy looked good when he did touch the ball. Loved the TD.
Yeah.
Devonta is Devonta. He's going to get out there. ATG, I think, probably looking at some lineup moves here. There's some questions about Mostert. He didn't fully practice on Wednesday.
Right.
So we'll see where he goes. But I expect a combination of either Michael Pittman, Mostert. You might see Robinson in here. You might also see DJ Moore, just depending on the matchup. But when I look at all those guys versus what I look at the other side, I think this game's going to be really, really close. But I think ATG ultimately does right the ship here in a close matchup. I'm going to go ATG 115 to the UP's 110.
Okay. I'm gonna lean your way just because I do like the star power on ATG side a little bit more. I think that we can get some fireworks. I think it can be a little bit of a bounce back for both Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow in week 2, and I think that game could get high scoring. Both quarterbacks could actually put on a show. But I think Tua's here to stay as a guy who can put up big points, and I think Lamar's going to have to match what Tua puts out there because those receivers make it very easy for Tua to just go out there, throw a quick pass, and those guys do the rest. Everybody heard about Derrick Henry touch situation, and I think so did Mike Vrabel. I expect him to get a lot more touches in this matchup against the Chargers, and I think that they're going to be able to run the football against the Chargers because I think that the Dolphins, they continue to pass, but I thought that they actually did okay in the run game against them. You said that Pacheco is getting more and more involved in that offense. I like him in a game against the Jaguars, especially if they get Travis Kelce back, for him to really be able to spread out and get the ball in the open field. D-Hop, we'll see how things go. He's questionable, and he's always a coin flip. Now, on ATG side, like I said, I like Lamar in a bounce back. Devonta Smith, they're going to eat up those Minnesota defensive backs, or the Eagles. I expect the Eagles to have a big game, and I expect that to really carry over for Devonta Smith because he won't get the number 1 coverage there. So I expect him to have a big game. Bijan Robinson, should continue to do well in the role that the Falcons have him in. I think they figured out a sweet spot to make him more of an all-purpose player as opposed to just a running back, while they use Algier as more of the traditional running back in their offense. Mark Andrews getting into that lineup is going to be huge because it's almost the same effect that only for the boss had. That tight end position with that quarterback, when you have that double dip, one of those guys being out really affects the other. So to get them both back in the lineup will really help ATG, and I think that helps him squeak by with a win. I got them getting this win 109 to the United players 102. And moving on to our next matchup, we go into our inter-conference matchup of the week. We got a big one between two teams from the winner's circle in last week. We got the Skulls taking on the Argonauts. All right, man. So this is a big one, a big rematch from Final Four weekend of last year. In that matchup, we had the Skulls defeating the Argonauts, eliminating them from the playoffs. We get a renewal of that matchup this year already early on in week 2. The Skulls coming in with a struggling Josh Allen, and the Skulls struggled themselves to only to an 87-pointer, going up against the Argonauts, who looked like themselves and in rare form with an 166-point outburst. What do you think of this matchup? Skulls, Argonauts in a big interconference matchup, Alpha and Omega.
Yeah, I mean, this one has fireworks written all over it. And you mentioned it. I mean, not many teams historically have been able to rattle off consecutive wins against the Argonauts. And you see why, because how they opened the season, they really showed value in those first 3-round picks as far as what they did. And so, the Argonauts really put a stamp on this season in the campaign, right?
Right.
That being said, I'm really torn on where to go here. And for me, it's because both teams are highly talented. But I think, again, when I look at what the Argonauts did last week, and so much of that point line was what they were able to get with the defensive position. Not to say that the Cowboys aren't gonna have another good day against the Giants.
Yeah.
But again, I'm interested in what these teams are doing from a coaching perspective. Justin Hurt. I mean, you look at this lineup. Argonauts are stacked top to bottom. When you look at the head coach position, very fascinating. They went out and got the Giants. Giants laid a pretty historic goose egg, getting 40-0 dusting.
Right.
And he's going there at Arizona, saying, that's not indicative. That game got away. He's thinking they bounced back big against what everybody said was the real worst team in the league. So
right.
Interesting play there. On the other side, I expect Josh Allen. I mean, Josh Allen had, and a few quarterbacks had rough weeks to open up. I mean, we talked about Burrow. We talked about Jackson. Allen was another guy, man. That Monday night game, with Aaron Rodgers going down, I really expected Buffalo to just take that over. And the fact that Allen just kept the other team in the game by fumbling and just turning the ball over.
Yeah. Very careless, man. He was ridiculous.
Very much out of character.
Yeah. Is it really though with him? I mean, is it really? Because he's been a turnover machine since Dayball left.
Yeah, I mean, it's just. I guess maybe it just wasn't expected. I mean,
okay.
the way that it looked, it looked sloppy, because even when Josh has given the football away in the past, he's always typically come back pretty strong from that, and it was just like it was not happening
right.
this game. And so I expect them to come back. I mean, I really like the game that they have against Las Vegas. I think that, maybe they help them come back to earth after the big win. But when I look down this lineup, I mean, I think that they could do really well. I mean, Rashad White against Chicago has a very susceptible run D. Jamar Chase, I think that Cincinnati-Baltimore game, I think both of those teams are looking to get something done. That one might get high scoring. Olave could be highly capable against Carolina.
Yeah.
Again, Waller is a good matchup against Arizona, and so is Aaron Jones. So he's got all the pieces here, and I think has the better some better matchups here. Frankly, I think that I'm going to say it. I think that the Skulls do a rare 3-run against the Argos, but they're going to have to really string it together, and I think they're going to have to put up a line. So in order to do it, I think that they're going to win this game 137 to the Argo 131.
Okay. I'm going the other way, man. What I saw on Monday night is concerning. Josh Allen he's out there throwing picks just because he wants to throw picks. I mean, he's not even under pressure, and he's just throwing the football up. I mean, if you think that he's just going to correct that next week because they're playing the Raiders, hey, maybe you know something I don't know. But I mean, he has so many unforced errors, and it's because he's got Superman syndrome. He thinks that anytime he wants to, he could put on the cape and fly over the defense. I mean, this guy he's trying to jump over defenders in a 3rd and 10 situation. He's about 5 yards from the first down. This guy's trying to hurdle people. I mean, I'm just calling it how I see it. Now, Ramondre had himself, I mean, and that can affect his coach because the stuff that I saw with Buffalo is more psychological than talent. So, I mean, it can get fixed pretty quick, but also that could also linger. And, I mean, I'm seeing exactly why they went home early in the playoffs last year. It's the exact same recipe. Josh Allen does not know what he's looking at out there right now. Darren Waller did not come out of that Cowboy game unscathed. And he got the targets, and he actually got busy in that matchup. But it sounds like he may be questionable for their matchup. Aaron Jones, who was a huge part of the Skulls effort last week, is also questionable. So that could really slow down their scoring. If Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow can't continue to get out of their own way, that could be a problem. Now on the Argonauts side, I like Justin Herbert going to Tennessee. I think they're going to throw the football down the field a lot more. They really had a lot of success in the running game last week. But I think that they're going to have to throw the ball a little bit more. Tennessee's a little bit more stout against the run than the Dolphins are. Where the Argonauts, where things can get tricky, is they could get off to a slow start if Philadelphia's defense comes in and clamps down on that Minnesota offense. We know Darius Slay will be trying to shadow Justin Jefferson. Did a great job on him last year. But I think Jettas is going to be looking to get back at him this weekend. And he might put on a show of his own. Alexander Madison, he's pretty hit or miss, but he is a 3-down back. He is a guy that's in the offense in the game repeatedly, so he's a guy they're going to probably leave in there. Of course, they can go back to Najee Harris now that that whirlwind from San Francisco has passed through Pittsburgh. Speaking of San Francisco, George Kittle does very well against the Rams. And he got targeted quite a bit. Him and Purdy couldn't get on the same page. Expect that to change. Once Purdy and Kittle get on the same page, it should be fireworks from that position. Calvin Ridley looked like his old self in that offense. Put up a huge line. Was one of the bigger stories of week 1. Home run, first round pick. If the Argonauts can continue to get that from that position, that'll really help hold things over till Cooper Kupp comes back into the lineup. And then obviously we saw the massacre Dallas put on the New York Giants. And I think that Zach Wilson in Dallas could provide a similar recipe for continued success. In the end, I got the Argonauts getting this win in a very good matchup, but they get it at the end, 134 to the Skulls, 127. And moving on to our next matchup, we go into a crucial game in the Alpha Conference. Who would have thought it, Ulysses? A big one in Alpha here. We got the reeling Alpha Conference champions only for the Boss, taking on 0-1 rookie laden I need about Trey Fiddy. All right, man. So only for the Boss, we expected them to roll into week 1 with a win and be coming into this matchup looking at an easy 2-0 start. For Trey Fiddy, the youngsters caught up to him. Now, Breece Hall was a spark off that bench, showing why he did keep that faith in him and kept him. I thought he just could have picked him again with the 3rd pick in the draft and also kept Calvin Ridley on that roster. But at the end of the day, I think that he still got something to play with here. James Cook was also very busy in that Bills offense, a welcoming sight if you're Trey Fiddy. What do you think of this one, man? A big one only for the Boss as the defending Alpha Conference champions try to stay afloat. Only for the Boss, Trey Fiddy.
Yeah, I mean, only for the Boss is still my pick to win this season.
Okay.
I say that prefacing that I think it's going to start out challenging for only for the Boss.
Okay.
Why I say that is, I mean, until we get a pretty definitive status on Kelsey, it really impacts not just this team, but the entire Kansas City organization and
Right.
what they're able to do.
Right.
And I mean, it's a positive sign that he was able to practice. But I mean, anybody watching the game, they were talking that this cat had no feeling last Thursday in his lower legs.
Not good.
Couldn't do anything on it. And so my concern is honestly that they rush him back onto the field. This guy's not as young as he used to be. He needs to take time to heal, especially if they're going to make a deeper run again. And again, if they're rushing to get him back, I mean, you just don't want to see the guy re-aggravate or worsen the injury. So,
right.
I mean, with that, I've got major question marks because that puts a ceiling on Mahomes. And I'm looking at a Jacksonville team that I think could present some challenges.
Definitely.
For Kansas City. I mean, they could certainly, I'm looking at Travis Etienne on the other side. I mean, that's going to factor big. And we saw what the run game did to Kansas City last week.
Yeah.
Not only were they getting yardage points, but they're eating clock.
They grinded them out.
That offense.
Yeah.
And so Trey Fitty's, I think, well positioned in that regard.
Okay.
Miles Sanders, Carolina, serviceable, not great week. And he's playing a New Orleans team that we were talking. They were one of the defenses that really kind of showed out last week.
Right.
And so I think that could be a limiting factor. Nick Chubb should have a field day. Stephon Diggs should have a field day. Debo, I mean, again, the Rams were another matchup or team that we were talking about, GENO offline, that was impressive last week. Really nobody talking or giving them any chances, really.
Right.
And they impressed. So, San Francisco came out last week and really took over that game. So let's see how they readjust it to starting a game 0-0.
Right.
I like the Kyron Williams pickup, getting him in that flex position. Going Giants D, I don't know, man. Even against Arizona, I can understand why you're going there.
Yeah.
But again, I'd be hesitant week 2 with the team that hasn't scored yet.
Yeah.
Similarly, I mean, he's all in on the Chiefs, and it's not firing 100. So question marks. Look at the other side, man. Dak didn't really need to do much on Sunday night because of what happened. You highlighted, Cook. Jalen Waddle really didn't do a ton because Tyreek was just everything.
Yeah, he killed it.
I think he can get. He's going to have to be more involved if Miami's going to get against New England. You saw what Devonta did as the number 2 receiver, so maybe that's indicative here.
Right.
Chris Godwin too should go good against the Bears. Kyle Pitts should factor. I mean, again, I like this lineup this week in the matchups. What I don't necessarily like is he doesn't have a coach yet. And again, Jets are playing at Dallas. I don't know if that's where he's going to ultimately go.
Right.
I think that he's going to have a coach in, and he's going to need a coach win. But if he does that, I think that I need about Trey Fitty actually pulls off an upset this week and gets only for the boss. I'm going to go 119 to only for the boss is 112. All
right. I'm actually going to agree with you here because you're saying if he does something he hasn't done, he's going to win. I don't know whether he does that or not. He's going to have a chance in this matchup. I'm looking at Dak Prescott against that New York Jet defense. That Jet defense hounded. I mean, yeah, some of those errors were unforced, but that Jet defense was on top of a lot of the passing plays that the Buffalo Bills tried to run. I expect them to have a similar effort. They feel like they're the underdogs right now. They're going to come in defensively and really try to shut down Dak Prescott and try to get after him. He didn't have any pressure on him in that week 1 matchup. They ran the ball a lot and they hit a lot of just underneath passes. And Dak just played a safe game. I think that they're going to put a lot more heat on him and that might force him into a couple of turnovers. Travis Etienne, I think that this game is going to be one of those games where they are going to try to throw the ball a lot. I think that they're going to get into a track meet, and especially if Travis Kelce comes back. And that might slow down Travis Etienne a little bit. Plus, they have another running back that they really like in that offense that they're trying to feature. James Cook, I do like his opportunities. I like what I saw on Monday night, and he looks very, very quick with the football. He looks very impressive. Great pick in hindsight for Trey Fitty in the first round, and the guy that they can build with, especially if he starts to get more 3-down back treatment. I'm not sure about Jalen Waddle or Chris Godwin in their matchups. It seems like Baker Mayfield's either dumping it off to the running back or the tight end, or he's trying to go to Mike Evans. He's not really reading that field right. I just don't like Kyle Pitts and Javonte Williams. Denver's whole offense leaves a lot to be desired. Now on the Boston side, Miles Sanders, he was actually able to get loose a lot in that offense, even though he didn't have any touchdowns. He still has some nice runs in the opportunities that he did get, and they're going to lean on him even more, seeing that they're going to play the New Orleans Saints in a big home game on Monday Night Football. They're going to want Bryce to look as good as possible, and the best way to make him look good is to have a strong running game. I like Patrick Mahomes on the run. On the road. I think that going to Jacksonville, that'll get him on the road. That'll get him on the move a little bit. I think he'll get outside of the pocket and make a few more plays. Deebo Samuel is a Rams killer, and Stephon Diggs, there's nobody on the Vegas Raiders that can cover him. At the end of the day, this looks like a runaway win for the Boss to get back on track. I got only for the Boss getting this victory, 131 to Trey Fitty's 113. And moving on to our prestige matchup of the week, we go into a classical matchup in the PPL, a one of huge Omega Conference consequence. We got a big one as we got Patty's Twins taking on the GAFF Attack. All right, man. So obviously this matchup is laden with history. We already know what this matchup is. Patty's Twins going up against the GAFF. Both teams coming off of opening day victories. Your good opening day was Patty's Twins. My good was the GAFF Attack. These teams renewing a classic PPL rivalry, man. What do you think of this matchup? Twins coming in with Derek Carr and hobbling Austin Eckler against the GAFF Attack and his high-flying Eagles and Seahawks. What do you think of this one, man?
Yeah, man, you said it. Your good versus my good, and you know what? I think your good gets it this week.
Okay.
I'm actually gonna say it. I've got GAFF winning this one comfortably. I think it does come down to the Austin Eckler injury and how big that factors. I mean, This guy is key for that team. Derek Carr, although he had a serviceable line, I mean, I wasn't super impressed in the first half of that game. You know, this team is really going to miss Jonathan Taylor, especially in matchups like this. The matchup I do like is Amon-Ra, St. Brown. I mean, his rapport with Jared Goff in the role he's filling in there. I mean, he's an every week starter.
Right.
Tyler Higbee. I mean, this was somebody that they went out and got this offseason and were expecting better from. Let's hope that there's a bounce back. Currently, not having anybody in the flex, they've got a few options there. But I mean, it's like I'm not sure exactly where they're gonna go.
Right.
But I mean, they've got the Bills D, which I do like against Las Vegas, and they've got the 49ers coach. So I think that they actually do a pretty good line here.
Okay.
What I think happens is the GAFF just really wakes up in a big way. I think that you know, what the Minnesota team that we saw on a short week playing an offense that can be this good, I'm kind of concerned about what this looks like.
No, for sure.
And if this does get into shootout territory, I think Jalen wins that battle.
Okay.
Kenneth Walker, I mean, Detroit looked good, but I mean they did definitely have some holes of in the run game as they are a pass rushing type front four, and Jahmyr Gibbs, I think, you know, we saw flashes of him last week. I think he just had a little bit of energy.
Yeah.
I think he had some first game jitters. I mean, had a TD, but he kind of like fell down on his own because I think he was so excited being on the damn field.
Right.
But I think he settles in, and I think he has a big game, honestly, against Seattle. I think Detroit gets out there and puts on a show. AJ is going to have to be a big part of that.
Right.
I expect, you know, you mentioned it, that Jets D will look tough. So if Dallas is going to go out there, which I think they do win this game, I think that CeeDee Lamb's a big part of it. I mean, I think that the Jets D, I think you have better options out there.
Right.
I mean, again, I understand that they put up such a good line last week, but again, Coach against D against Coach. I don't know who do you root for here? And so I think that makes it a challenging decision. But I ultimately think that he goes out and gets a different defense and leaves his coach. And I think in doing so, Gaff typically goes out and he finds those defenses that perform. And so I think he does well. And I think this week he just puts together the total package in our prestige matchup of the week, and I think he continues the good role that he started last week. And I've got the Gaff actually leaving no doubt this week. 141 to Patty's Twins 125.
All right, man. I'm gonna have to agree with you, but I gotta call you out again, man. You're giving guys credit for moves they have not made yet, so it's hard for me to go all the way there with you. But I see what you mean, why they have no doubt potential. Minnesota is one of the worst defenses in the league. Philly gets that. And then TJ Hawkinson playing from behind. Obviously, he could get some late catches and get himself a touchdown. The reason I'm really liking the Gaff is because of the high over-under in the Detroit-Seattle matchup. They're expecting GENO to bounce back, and if he bounces back, that means DK and Kenneth Walker will also be bouncing back. Jahmyr Gibbs, that looks like more of a matchup that he can get loose in, and I expect that he could have a big home opener for the hometown fans. CeeDee Lamb will draw Sauce Gardner, so that might be tough sledding for the Gaff there. That matchup could get tough. I'm going to go with what they got going on out there. Something's going to cancel each other out with that defense and head coach. I'm thinking that defense eventually will cancel out a little bit, just based on the fact that I think that the running game for the Cowboys is better than the running game for the Buffalo Bills. And Dak isn't, even though he does make mistakes and it can be turnover prone, he's just not quite as careless as Josh Allen looked the other night. On Patty's Twin side, I like the Derek Carr play. I thought that was a great pickup for a guy in an offense who has weapons, who has guys that he can exploit. Now, is he just a Band-Aid? Yes, he's just a Band-Aid. But he's a better Band-Aid than Kenny Pickett looked like in that matchup. As you said, they were prophetic. I guess you want to get rid of a guy a year too soon, not a guy a year too late. And it was sad. The Twins were sad to see Aaron Rodgers laying on the MetLife Field turf. But they understand that the reality of the game is that life goes on. They're going to need Austin Eckler if they're going to win this matchup. I say that he finds a way to gut it out. I think he gets back in the lineup. He's notorious for playing through injury, and I think he'll be fine. Dameon Pierce in a matchup and in a game that I think will be low scoring has a chance to get into the end zone, and we were already talking about the sun god Amon-Ra St. Brown, a true son of Troy, doing his thing. I think Higbee has a decent game against that 49er front. And I think the Twins get T. Higgins in the lineup. I think he bounces back and they get this win in a very, very compelling and close matchup of the week. I have the Twins getting this matchup 122 to the Gaff Attacks 118. Alrighty, PPL'ers, thanks for another great week of PPL Live. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys are strapping in for an exciting season. Lots to still be decided here. Good luck. Have fun. Enjoy the weekend. May the odds be ever in your favor, and see you next week.